Are we all here? Okay, let's get going then. Again, 2 blocks if you've got them, maybe a strap. I see you all run around some more. Okay, here we go. Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah? Okay. Katrin, I don't know where you went, so come back. Okay, there you are. So welcome, welcome, welcome. The theme today, or the pose that we're doing today, is Dhanurasana, bow pose. So a little bit in honor of Valentine's Day this weekend, right? Think of it as Cupid's bow, right? And what I love about this pose, if we look at it this way, especially mixing it with, so the yogic term for pleasure or for that kind of romantic feeling is kama, right? And so kama is one of the devas, one of the gods. So it's one of these energies that are part of our divine nature, right? And if we think of it as being something that's only related to our body, right? Our body's pleasure or our body's sense of satisfaction or our body's sense of romance, is that gets us into trouble, right? That can bind us, that can create a feeling of being very stuck in the world because we're always chasing what that pleasure is and trying to hang on to it. But if we remember that kama, that feeling of pleasure and fulfillment, is part of our divine nature as well, then it becomes an act of freedom, right? It becomes something that actually elevates our experience of living instead of being something that confines it. So you have this opportunity, right? When we come up against something like Valentine's Day or any opportunity where we're asked to explore feelings of love, that we don't try to separate, that there's, physical love and there's spiritual love, there's just love, and they're able to come together. And that's bow pose is really kind of that. It's where we have this sense of coming together through the whole body, because if your whole body is not involved in the back bend, right, equally, is that something's going to hurt, either your shoulders or your back or your neck, or something's going to hurt. So we have this chance in this position to really focus on this idea of treating the moment that you're in, not just for the physical fulfillment, the physical experience, but to allow it to be something that's elevated by your spiritual presence that you bring to it, right? Or that you can make the experience, even if it is a little uncomfortable, is you can bring that spirituality to it and it becomes something that is fulfilling, right? So kama, pleasure, fulfillment, it's part of your divine nature as well as your physical experience. And we're bridging the two, right? So the bow, we bridge the two. So comfortable seat if you're not there already. Let the eyes close. And just for a moment, feel your breath as it flows up and down the spine. Inhaling, following the breath all the way up to the crown of the head. And exhaling, following the breath down the spine, to the base of the spine and beyond. And inhaling up to the crown of the head again, no pause. Exhale, just let that breath flow all the way into the exhale immediately, all the way down the base of the spine. And then no pause, inhale all the way up. No pause, exhale all the way down. So it's like the breath is this one long, continuous flowing thread, right? Actively trying to just move through the pause at the top and the bottom. Inhale becomes the exhale. The exhale becomes the inhale. No break. Good. This unity is what we are looking for, the experience of when we don't separate physical and spiritual. We don't separate body and mind, body and spirit. That's what yoga promises, is that that's the place that is free, is when you don't separate. So you practice that. Can my inhale become my exhale with no pause? My exhale becomes my inhale with no pause. So you start to feel what it's like to be in that continuousness. Even if it's not happening right now, continue to play with this form of breathing. Once you catch it, you catch yourself in the flow of it, and it's not so much work. It feels really good. Another moment, inhaling the breath up the spine, letting the breath fall into the exhale, no pause. The exhale becomes the inhale, no pause. Then allow the attention on the breath to dissipate. Breath goes back to its regular flow. And bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. And we'll open with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. Release the hands, please. And then bring yourself forward onto hands and knees. And start with hip circles. So the knees are underneath your hips, your hands are underneath your shoulders. And then start to rotate pelvis, rotate shoulders, rotate whole body, big circles. Good. Nice. So the two big pieces of Dhanurasana, right? Because it's a full body back bend that involves a quad stretch and requires you to be able to reach back, hopefully to hold the ankles. Hi, Sarah. So all of that openness, right, is required for you to get into this position that looks like it's a little bit bound, right? Because your hands are holding your feet. There's really nowhere for you to go except up, right? There's nowhere for you to go except to elevate. Right? Move your hips the other direction, please. But the two main parts of this, right? The two big pieces of your spine is what are your shoulders able to do in terms of rotation? And what is your pelvis able to do in terms of rotation, right? So we have to kind of free up space in both places in order for Dhanurasana not to be something that just pulls. Good. Nice, you guys. Come back to stillness, please. Stretch your right arm out wide to the right. Thread the needle, stretch that arm behind your left wrist, right shoulder finds the floor, turn your gaze to the left, and then walk the left arm forward towards straight. Press into your shins, scoop the low belly. Good. And then up on your left fingertips so that you have that feeling again of lifting through the armpit, drag back just a little bit on that shoulder blade. Nice. And then you can either stay here or take that left arm up to the sky. As that arm comes up, turn the palm to face back, bend the elbow, reach around for the bind. So you're reaching for the outer edge of your right hip or your lower back. Good. And then just watch here that you're continuing to push into that right arm that's on the floor. Good. And you're lifting that left shoulder up towards your ear and then opening through the front of your chest. Good. So it's not about rotating your neck. It's not about pulling the elbow back. It's the arm bone. Awesome. And then stretch the arm back up to the sky, reach. Good. Release that hand down to the floor, unwind all the way back to hands and knees. Good. And then go the other way. Take your left arm out wide to the left, slide behind your right wrist, left shoulder finds the floor. Turn your gaze to the right, walk your right arm forward. Good. So you're pressing into your shins so that you keep, again, the stability of the pelvis, the lower spine. And as you push into your right fingertips, your elbow lifts a little higher, your armpit gets a little bit more open. Good. You're breathing into the side waist. Nice. And then the option is to either stay here if this feels like it's good, or take the right arm up to the sky, turn your palm to face back, bend the elbow, reach for either the lower back if that feels like it's enough rotation, or bring that hand to find the outer edge of your left hip crease. Good. Keep pressing through your left forearm that's on the ground so that you're not collapsing in that shoulder. And your right shoulder is pulling up towards your ear just a little bit so that you can open the top of your chest more. Nice, Lorraine and Joanne. Good. Nice, Emily. Beautiful, you guys. Scoop your low belly so your sacrum stays nice and full. Good, and then take the right arm back up to the sky, release the bind, bring the hand back down to the floor, come back to hands and knees. Good, and cat-cow your spine, inhaling, lifting the chest, tilting the tailbone up and back, then exhaling, curling and rounding, pulling up through the back of the ribs and lifting through the front edge of your hip bones, pelvic bones. Good, keep going, inhaling, lengthening and lifting, exhaling, curling and rounding. Good. Beautiful. So you can see the sort of simulations, right? The kind of joke is that all back bends are the same. Once you kind of get the idea behind one, you get the idea behind all of them. But the difference with Dhanurasana is that the legs have to be really actively engaged. They have to be able to lift of their own power, right? So it's not just the flexibility of your spine here that matters. It's the actual strength of your back. It's the actual strength of your legs to be able to lift you away from the floor, that sense of elevation. Good. So come back to neutral, please. Stretch your right leg back behind you. Lift that leg up in line with your hips. So take it parallel to the floor. Good. And then bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, knee point straight down. Good. And then you're going to keep that knee pointing straight down. And I want you to just lift that heel up a little higher towards the ceiling. So lift it up higher towards the ceiling. So thigh is parallel to the floor. Push up like you're going to press your heel to the sky. Good. Yep. And then hold it there. Yep. Low belly draws in. Pull those arms up into the shoulder socket. Elevate your chest away from the floor. And now maintaining, this is your new neutral, right? Start to pulse that heel up towards the ceiling. Little pulses. Push up. Push up. Keep the knee bent. Push up. Good. Try not to let the knee drop too low, but really find that feeling of I have to lift through my thigh. I have to lift through my back. And I keep my chest lifted. Don't collapse your ribs. Good. Katrin, really pull that heel in a little closer if you can. Pull it in. Yep. Good. Nice, you guys. And then lift and pause again. Beautiful. Stretch the legs straight back behind you. Walk your left fingertips forward. Take a balance just for a breath. Good. Lift that left arm in line with your left armpit. Good. Chest up. Like you're taking that back bend already. Lift that left arm higher. Lift your armpit higher. Kick your right thigh higher. And then release back to hands and knees. Nice job. Knees wide. Take a child's pose. I don't know. That felt like a lot of work. Your butt hurts a little, right? Yeah. So that's really what I think is very different about Dhanurasana, because you're not using your hands in the back bend, right? In Cobra pose or upward facing dog, we use our hands. Even in something like camel, we're relying on our hands to kind of do a lot of the supporting work for us. When in Dhanurasana, your legs have to actively engage, because if they're not able to lift themselves off the floor, you've got half the pose that's not happening, right? So we have to start to become stronger in the muscles of our back and the backs of our legs, hamstrings, glutes, all of that. Come back up to hands and knees. And that's what we often miss in a yoga practice, right? We like being flexible, but we don't think about being strong. Take your left leg back behind you. Good. Lift it up in line with your hip. Already watch that as you lift that leg, where's the tendency for the belly to drop or for you to sag your chest into your shoulders? So pull up, ribs up. Good. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Keep that knee pointing down. So that's important. If your hip is flying open, you're going to be creating not the kind of muscular energy you want. So knee points down. Heel's going to go slightly to the outer edge of your left butt cheek. Good. And then lift it up a little higher. Go as high as you think you can and hold. Good. Squeeze the heel in. Squeeze, but don't clench. You got it. Good. Now that's your new neutral, right? From there, start to pulse a little higher, a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. Don't let your ribs drop. Keep pushing the floor away with your hands. Elevate. Good. Keep going. Little pulses. You're not kicking your heel in towards your butt. You're actually pressing the heel up towards the ceiling. So it's your thigh that's got to work. Good. Front of the pelvis that's got to feel that stretch. Good. And it's okay if it feels like it's very difficult to do. You're isolating muscles you don't isolate. Keep going. Chest up. Thank you. Nice, you guys. Good. Stretch that leg straight back behind you. Walk the right arm forward. Take your balance. Right arm comes up in line with your shoulder. And then again, push the floor away. So you're lifting your chest up. Rotate your collarbones forward like you're doing a back bend. Take that right upper arm higher alongside your ear. And then left inner thigh goes straight up. And now in that back bended position, pull your ribs in and up. Nice. And then release back to hands and knees. Good. Knees go wide. Come back, child's pose. I know you're like done already. Thank you. Dhanurasana. If you focus on it just being something of being the squeezing of the spine, and you don't think about the strength of it, is you're going to miss the fulfillment, right? It might feel good in the moment, but that's the kind of back bending that when we do it habitually, it doesn't feel good anymore. starts to hurt, starts to become part of a pattern of us hurting ourselves. So we balance flexibility with strength. Good. Walk yourself back up to hands and knees, please. Press back, downward facing dog. Good. Pedal your feet just a little bit if you'd like. Again, it's your first down dog of the afternoon. Good. And then steady the heels, please. Right leg comes up and back, down dog split. Good. And in your down dog split, come up on the tippy toes of your left foot, please. As you come up on the tippy toes, squeeze your ankles towards each other. So as you squeeze your feet towards each other, your legs towards each other, I want you to feel like you push your butt higher. Good. So you almost hollow through your front of your pelvis more. So your butt goes higher because you're squeezing your legs together. Good. Now maintain that. Let that left heel soften towards the floor and kick that right thigh higher, but don't let your low back arch. Good. Nice. That's a nice down dog split. And then step that right foot forward between the hands. Good. Inhale, both arms up to the sky, high lunge. Beautiful. Turn your palms forward, hook your thumbs overhead. Bend your elbows just a little bit wider. So you're hooking your thumbs so they're pulling apart. Your elbows go wide. Your chest goes up. Move your hands back. Good. Now bend your back knee as deeply as your front knee. So both knees almost to 90 degrees. Pull your left thigh forward, right hip back. Good. And those elbows are bent and you're lifting through the top of your head. So you're feeling your spine really work here, but bend that back knee even more and squeeze it forward. Really good, you guys. Awesome. Straighten the back thigh, please. Release the hands down to the floor. Nice job. Drop the back knee to the floor, please. Inhale the arms up to Asana. Use a blanket underneath that knee if you need. Good. Nice, you guys. Then take your hands to your front thigh, both hands, interlace the fingers. Press that thigh away as you round your back. So pull your belly back and in, lift those hip points up off of your front thigh. Good. And now let your whole pelvis move forward more. Good. So it's like you're going deeper into the lunge, but you're pulling your belly back and trying to keep that space in your lower spine. Yeah. Relax the shoulders. Nice. Good, you guys. It's just the pushing that matters, right? It's not how deep you go. Nice. Take the arms back to the sky, please, without pushing your ribs forward. Really pull up through the low place of your belly. Squeeze your front foot and your back knee towards each other and pull up. Nice. And then release the hands down to the floor. Both hands inside the front foot. Walk to the upper left-hand corner of your mat. Separate your hands a little wider so you've got space for your shoulders up on your fingertips. Good. So Katrin, you're still in that, Anjaneyasana lunge. Good. And then as you exhale, every exhale, you let your elbows bend wide, drop the chest towards the floor, and inhale, rise up. Then exhale again, bending the elbows. So Susan T, take your hands wider. Yep. Good. Yep. So you've got a lot of room for your chest. Nice. Good. So we have to create this feeling that we understand the back bending ability is not just being able to fold your back, it's being able to extend the muscles of your back as well as the front of the body. That's the big one of Dhanurasana as well. It's because the front of the body is pressed against the floor, it's that much more obvious that if the front of your thighs, the front of your pelvis, your belly, your chest, if all of that is restricted, the back bend can't happen. So there has to be this feeling of functionally being able to extend the spine by its own power. Good. And then slowly walk yourself back in towards that front foot, please. Really good. Some of you guys were doing like army style push-ups somehow in that position. Lift your back knee and step back to downward facing dog. Beautiful. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down to your belly, please. Good. Stretch your arms reaching back in the direction of your feet, palms facing down, fingertips on the floor. Good. So fingertips on the floor. Nice. So you're pressing into your fingertips, lift the front of your arm bones up. So you're lifting the front of your shoulders up off the floor, but your fingertips are staying on the floor. That's it. So it's like you're trying to pull your low rib cage away from the floor as well. So you're pressing the pubic bone or the front of the pubic bone towards the floor, but pull your low ribs in and up. And then float just the legs up off the floor. From your inner thighs, pull up. Keep your head relaxed. Just work the legs. Good. Pull your ankles back more so your legs get longer. Inner thighs pull up. Good. Just the armpits and ribs are lifting. Nice. And then release back down. Now plant the feet flat to the floor, tops of the feet flat to the floor. Fingertips stay resting on the floor. Lift head, neck, and chest with your fingers on the floor like you're doing just the upper body. If you notice that you clenched your butt, don't clench your butt. Engage each glute, but don't squeeze in towards the middle. Good. So reach out through the legs, press down through the feet, hug your shins. Press into your fingertips and feel your chest lift higher. Nice. Very good, Kristen. Nice, Allison. And then release back to your belly. Okay. Front of the pelvis, again, that middle point presses down and forward. Pubic bone presses down and forward. Pull your low ribs in. Float your legs up off the floor. Good. Hug your shins. Good. And then press into your fingertips, lift head, neck, and chest. Keep your fingertips on the floor. So again, you have something to push into that gives you reference for your back. Good. Lift your heart, back of your heart a little higher and extend out through those legs. Nice. Now, if you float your arms up off the floor, go for it. Keep them nice and wide and almost relaxed. So turn your thumbs up to face the ceiling, palms facing out, pinkies towards the floor. So Kristen, turn your palms the other way. Other way. There you go. Good. And then feel again that open rotation, chest up. Beautiful. And then release back down. Nice job. Plant your hands, please. Press back downward facing dog. Good. So what you felt your back doing right there in locust pose is I want you to remember that because that's a lot of the action that needs to be there in Dhanurasana, bow pose. Left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Come up on the tippy toes of your right foot, please. And then squeeze your feet towards each other. As you squeeze your legs towards each other, hollow through your front of your pelvis and pull up through your sit bones. So it's like you're squeezing that foot in your hands towards each other and really pulling up like you're piking your hips. Good. And now lift that left thigh higher as you let your right heel reach down towards the floor. Don't arch into the lower spine. Keep that feeling of pulling up through your ribs, pulling up through your low belly. Beautiful. And then step the left foot between the hands. Good. Inhale both arms to the sky, high lunge. Turn your palms forward, hook your thumbs, bend your elbows wide. Good. And then bend the back knee a lot. So both knees are almost to 90 degrees. Pull your right thigh forward. Send that outer left hip spinning back. Good. Nice, you guys. Pull your ribs in. Beautiful. Press the crown of your head up as you drag down on the elbows. Chest open, chest open, chest open. Pull that back thigh forward. Yes, really good. Nice, Joanne. Straighten that back thigh. Please release the hands down to the floor. Good. Drop the back knee, please. Anjaneyasana. Use a blanket underneath the knee if you'd like. Take both arms to the sky. Nice, Emily. Nice, Mark. Good. And then bring both hands to your front thigh. Interlace your fingers. Press that thigh away and round your back. Good. So as you press against the thigh, you're actually pulling back through your low belly. You're pulling back through your rib cage. Lift those hip points up away from your thigh. Good. And then again, the idea here is that part of this pushing, the pressure, right, is helping to open up that space between the top of your pelvis and your back. Good. So don't worry about how low that you go, but press. And then let your whole pelvis move forward a little bit more. Let yourself go deeper into the lunge, but still pulling the belly away. Good. And then stretch the arms up alongside the ears again if you'd like. Don't let that belly drop onto the thigh. Keep it lifted. Squeeze the back knee and the front heel towards each other. Yeah. And then release the hands back down to the floor. Good. Both hands inside the front foot. Walk to the upper right-hand corner of your mat. Separate the hands nice and wide. Come up on your fingertips. And then again, you're letting yourself breathe in and out of that chest opening. So as you exhale, the elbows bend wide as your chest opens and you drop your heart towards the floor. Good. And then it's a gentle lift up. So it's not about your arms. It's about creating space in your chest. And sure, it will wake up the arms and the shoulders a little bit. Beautiful. Right, Dhanurasana, the image of the bow in yogic terms is not only that Cupid's bow kind of idea, and Kama himself is like the Cupid character. He does shoot people with his arrows of desire. That's often how they're described, of desire, right? Not love, desire. And desire, again, is something that can take us to fabulous places that really let us feel fulfilled in our life. And it's also the road to getting yourself in trouble if your attitude about that desire is not clear. But the bow is also used as a reference for meditation, right? A place where you are absorbed so much in the unity of things, the oneness in things, that you have no desires anymore because everything is already fulfilled. You are already fulfilled. There's nothing to chase. Walk yourself back in, please. Good. Lift that back knee up, please. Step back to downward facing dog. So the bow pose has the power to be both of those things, all of those things. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Bend your knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Good. Press down through your tops of your thighs. So let me put it this way. Press down into your knees so it feels like the tops of your thighs, your butt almost pops up towards the ceiling. Good. So your hands are alongside your ribs like they would be for cobra. Hands alongside your ribs for cobra. Some of you are reaching for what I don't want you to reach for. Good. So press down through those knees so that the tops of your thighs pop up off of the floor. It's like you're pushing your butt up towards the sky. Good. And then press into your hands here, pull your low ribs in and up. So it's almost like you're hollowing the whole front of your body. Now draw your tail towards your knees. So it's like you're lifting your hip points slightly forward. It's going to take some of that arch out of your back. And then as you drag back on the hands, take your collarbones forward and up, rise up into cobra with your heels clicking in towards the back of your head. But don't lose the work in your legs. Yeah. So it's going to feel a little frustrating because you're like, can't I just push my hips forward and push my ribs forward and back bend? No. Extend, drag back on your hands, press into those thighs. Feel the lift of your hip points. Feel your armpits draw up and back, collarbones wide, throat back. Drop your chin, Emily. Good. And now pull back through the back of your throat. Nice. And then release back down. If you came 2 inches off of the floor, that's perfect. Good. With the legs straight back behind you, press the tops of the feet down to the floor. Traditional Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Press down into the hands. Again, feel your ribs rising up. Drag back on the hands. Pull the chest forward and up. Good. Feel the lift of your hip points forward and up and press into the tops of the feet. Nice. And then release back to your belly. Good. Stretch your arms out nice and wide, letter T. Good. You're going to roll onto your right hip here. So keep the right arm extended, roll onto your right hip. So you're stretching through the right shoulder, stacking the left hip on top of the right if you can. Good. That top foot can step back behind you if that feels better for balance. You can have your left hand in front of you if you'd like. Good. Again, you're breathing through shoulder and chest. Make sure you don't push too hard, too far. Beautiful. The idea that we separate ourselves from the unconditional love. Because we are separate from it, or we believe we're separate from it, we go chasing all the other forms of it. And we think that all those other forms maybe will one day add up to that unconditional, universal, divine feeling, but it can't. So we practice to understand how to drop into that flow of where there is no separation between my physical self, my spiritual self, my physical life, my spiritual life. Good. Slowly release, come back to center, please. Good. Stretch the left arm out wide. If it's gone to a different position, you're just going to the other side. So roll onto the left hip. You can try to make sure that that arm is in line with your shoulder. So Susan T, I would float that arm a little more towards the top of your mat so it's more in line with your shoulder. Good. Again, stacking the right hip, the top foot can go back behind you if you'd like. Right hand can be in front of you for balance. Good. We are able to engage the body from the inside out. absorb ourselves into that inner self, the inner world. There's far fewer things that we even want to chase on the outside. And so ironically, there's a story where Kama becomes like this spirit of desire, this spiritual kind of love, because he loses his physical form. As Shiva destroys it. Why? Because Kama was causing trouble. Come on, back to center, back to your belly. Good, plant the hands. Press back to downward facing dog. Good, take your dog just a tiny bit shorter. So maybe walk your dog forward, maybe one step. And then your right hand is going to reach back for your left ankle. So you're reaching underneath you for a twisting down dog. And you're looking underneath your left armpit. Good, push your inner thighs wide. Good, use that right hand to almost drag your shoulder towards that left ankle. Good, then pull your hips back. And the idea here is to get into the length of the spine, into the shoulder rotation. Good, and then release please and switch hands. Right hand supports, left hand reaches underneath you for outer right ankle or shin. Keep your inner thighs pressing wide. Keep your hips pulling back. You're looking underneath the right armpit. Good. Nice, you guys. Susan C, you can actually twist a little deeper there. I know you can. There you go. Yep, let your shoulder rotate here, you guys. That's it. And then release, come back to both hands, both feet. Nice job. Take the right leg up and back, down dog split. Coming up on the tippy toes of your left foot. Again, squeeze the feet towards each other, pull up through that low place of your belly, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Good, and then let the left heel drop down as you kick your right thigh higher. Bend your knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stay there, press that thigh higher, just like you did before. Take it higher, like you're pressing your heel up towards the ceiling and hold. Good, and then pull up through your low belly again. And then lift that thigh higher and hold. And pull up through your low belly, don't drop into the arch. And lift that thigh higher and hold. And now drag back on your hands and begin to lift your chest forward, like you're coming into that little back bendy scorpion position. Pull your ribs in and up. Keep that thigh just as high as it was. Don't let it drop. Good, Kristen, you have an excuse because a dog is licking your face. One more breath, please. Heart up. Yeah. And then release the head, please. Stretch the leg back behind you. Bring that right knee forward and wide for pigeon. I know you thought you were done. You can rest in pigeon. Left leg slides back behind you. Flex that front foot. Press into the shin. Nice. And then walk yourself forward, forward fold. Resting on the forearms is my preference. So even if you can come lower, rest on the forearms. Maybe with your elbows a little wider. Good. But I want you to be able to press into your forearms almost like you would for forearm plank. So pressing into the forearms, give the low rib cage a little bit of a lift. And then again, press down and drag back and lift your collarbones forward and up. Again, almost like you're in forearm plank or sphinx pose. Good. Nice. And so doing this on purpose, right? Because that back leg has to be in this very extended position in pigeon. So it's a little challenge to the hip flexors, the front of the thigh. And then work your spine longer. This is what we tend to avoid in pigeon pose, is to find the length of your spine because we focus just on the hips. Good. So keep dragging back on the forearms, chest forward, and still try and take your sit bones back and down to the floor. You know, your new favorite way to do pigeon. Good. Nice, you guys. And then left forearm can turn parallel to the top of your mat. Take your right arm up to the sky, twist. Good. Optional is to add the quad stretch if you'd like. You can bend that right knee, take your heel in, reach back for the foot. Good. Bend your right elbow if you're reaching for the foot. So you bend the elbow, open the chest again. So again, you're stacking that right rib cage on top of the left a little more. Good. And then press that foot against the hand, give the pressure back. Press your knee down into the floor and lift that front edge of your left pelvic bone. Forward and up. And then open your chest again. Yes. Really nice, Joanne and Lorraine. Slowly release. Nice, Katrin. Good. Press the hands to the floor, lift your back knee, step back, downward facing dog. Bend both knees in your down dog. Cat-cow your spine. Good. Moving from the back of your heart. So if your head is doing a lot of tipping forward and back, and that feels like the biggest movement that's happening, I want you to leave your head a little bit more neutral and really focus on your collarbones lifting up and the back of your shoulders rounding, so that you're getting that sense that you're moving from the actual shoulder girdle, that you're moving from the internal, the deepest center points of the body and not the extremities. So you don't want your head leading the pose. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Downward facing dog. Left leg comes up and back, down dog split. Good, come up on the tippy toes of your right foot again. Squeeze the feet towards each other, pull up through that center point of your pelvis. Get used to that, squeezing the legs together, and then try and lift that left thigh higher against that as you let your right heel reach for the floor. So you're splitting the legs, but you're staying really powerful in your pelvis. You're still pulling up. Good, and then bend that left knee, heel kicks in. Don't let the hip come open. Knee points down to the floor, flex your foot, and then lift it higher and hold. Pull up through your low belly, take that arch out of your low back. Good, it's like you're digging the knee slightly down and forward, and then lift the thigh higher again. Good, and pull back on the hands and lift that low belly pelvis again. And lift your thigh higher, push up through that foot and hold it. Good, and then do that little pulsing, little bit. Good. Keep dragging back on your hands so all of your weight is not falling forward. That's it. And then lift and hold. Drag back on the hands again. Lift your collarbones forward and up. So it's like you feel that space behind your heart, that the shoulder blades are melting in towards that center place. Good. Pull back on the hands, pelvis up. Fold from your hip creases. Yes. Nice. And then release the head, please. Stretch the legs straight back behind you and then bring the left knee forward for pigeon. Good. If it felt like a lot of work, you did it right. Flex your foot. Press into your shin. Good. And then walk yourself forward onto your forearms. Nice. Again, all back bending ideally should be from our ability to elongate the spine, just using the muscles of the spine and of the abdominals. But especially in Dhanurasana, because you're asking yourself to defy gravity, to elevate yourself off of the floor, except for that little balance point of the front of your pelvis and your belly. So it's a little different than when you are falling backwards, say into wheel, or when you are just lifting the hips from bridge, or even in dancer pose where, yeah, there's a lift to the thigh, but you've already got that hold on your foot. And the power of your legs has to be even more present. Dhanurasana, fully engaged, right? Fully in that state of absorption. Press into your forearms, lift your chest higher. So again, almost like you're in forearm plank. Drag back on the arms, or Sphinx pose is another way to think of it. If your chest lifting up, your back is really wide. So even though you might be squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other, your back stays really wide. Awesome. Nice, you guys. And you're still pulling your hips back. So it's still like your sit bones are reaching down for the floor. Good. And then right forearm can turn parallel to the top of your mat. Reach the left arm to the sky, take the twist. Good, reaching from the shoulder, nice job. And then the option is to add the quad stretch, bending your right knee, kicking your heel and reach back for the foot or the ankle. Watch that reaching back doesn't cause you to open your hips. So keep that left hip point spinning forward. Good, chest open. So Katrin, draw your right shoulder blade back and wide. The supporting arm. Yeah, and bend the left elbow, rotate that left rib cage up and open. Nice, you guys. Nice, Susan T. And then slowly release the leg, please. Come all the way back down. Nice job. Lift the back knee, downward facing dog. Good. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down to your belly. Good. Stretch your arms reaching back, palms facing down to the floor. Good. So this is stag pose is what it's referred to. So what it looks like, right, is that you're, let's put it this way, bend your right knee, bring your right foot up towards the ceiling, squeeze it in. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep that right knee on the floor and you're going to lift your left leg and rest it on your right foot. So your left leg lifts up straight up and rest it on your foot. Good. Take it up as high as it will go. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So ideally you want to keep that right knee bent as much as you can and keep lifting through the left thigh as though you are going to rest that leg on your foot. Good. Pelvis stays facing the floor as much as you can. Push into your hands, push into the front of your chest. Now you really feel your lower back, right? Good. And then slowly release. Come on down. Nice job, you guys. Good. Wiggle the hips from side to side if you'd like. And then try the other side. So bend your left knee. And then start to slide that right leg up, lifting from the inner thigh as high as it will go, like you're going to prop it on your left foot. Good. And keep squeezing, right? Don't just get it there and let it rest, but actually keep lifting through that right thigh. Keep your pelvis facing straight ahead. Press through the fingertips. Good. Nice, you guys. Really work the legs. Squeeze in. Even that bent knee. Keep the knee bent. Bend, 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 and lift, lift, lift. Good. And then slowly release. Nicely done. Good. Make a pillow with your hands, please. Rest for a moment. Wiggle the hips from side to side if you'd like. Separate your feet a little bit wider. Release the lower back. Right, the image of the bow is meditation. So we say that meditation, right, is something that we don't do, something that happens, but it requires our effort to get to a state where we can experience it fully. So a weak mind, a disorganized mind, can't easily consciously come into meditation. It can still happen. So finding that feeling of strength, internal strength, is part of that experience of fulfillment. It's part of that feeling unified, body, mind, and spirit. Unified, one experience. And by cultivating that, that's our effort. We start to make it a reality that we don't fall out of anymore. It stays present. So we practice getting stronger. We practice getting more unified in our ability to access our inner energies. Dhanurasana, the bow, perfectly unified and with some amount of tension. There's effort required to draw a bow back. There's effort required to use it. Metaphor for meditation, which is a metaphor for being in a state of complete fulfillment, unified with unconditional love, where desire disappears. All desires are fulfilled. So one more breath, breathing into the low back. And then come up to Sphinx pose, please, on your forearms. Good, so hands should be separated about as wide as your forearms are. Forearms are underneath the shoulders. Pressing down into the forearms, drag back, lift your chest. Good, and then bend your knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Press down through the tops of your knees, again with that feeling that your butt almost pops up a little bit from when you do that. And then the low place of your belly, below your belly button, draws in and tilts your pelvic bone slightly forward and up. So it's not that you're pushing the front of your pelvis to the floor, but you're tilting. And then draw your low ribs in and lift your collarbones forward even more. Good. Keep dragging back on your forearms. Nice. Keep pressing down through the legs. Good, with that feeling that your inner thighs are trying to rise up, even as the front of your pelvis is pushing forward. It should feel like there's that unified sense of like a bowstring, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just hang out where you are, enjoy it. And then slowly release, please. Nice job. Good, press up to hands and knees. Do a little cat and cow or hip circling, whatever feels like it's going to make your spine happier. Good. And then come back to stillness, please. Hips stacked over top of your knees. Walk your hands forward like you're in a modified downward facing dog. Let your hands go as wide as they'd like to go. So maybe as wide as your mat. Good. Yeah, and then you're keeping your hips in line with your knees. Good. Draw that low belly in so you support the lower spine. Press into your hands. Armpits stay lifted. Elbows stay as lifted as they can, but start to melt through the place behind your heart. So your armpits are lifting, but you're dropping your chest towards the floor. Good. And then you're not pushing the ribs forward. So you're keeping that gentle engagement of the ribs, but then softening the space behind the heart. Again, you can walk the hands out as far as you need. So the longer you go into this, relaxing and relaxing and relaxing, as you can find that your spine begins to articulate itself into that back bend, where eventually, right, the front of the chest can drop to the floor. Some of you might even be able to go there. Let yourself go there. And then re-engage, right? Rib cage draws in. So I thought I'd throw this in there. This is Anahata Asana, heart chakra pose. The place where all of the energies of your physical, mental life, emotional life are unified. That's the heart chakra. Everything becomes unified at that place. All opposites become unified. So drop into your heart center, the place behind or between your shoulder blades. Good. And then slowly walk yourself back up, please. Drop back into child's pose, knees wide. Maybe reaching back for your ankles if your shoulders need a little bit of a rest from being extended. Good. Your effort is moving you in the direction where you can feel fulfillment, where you no longer separate the doing with the feeling. We get out of that cause and effect reaction of I can be happy if X, Y, and Z. I can feel fulfilled if X, Y, and Z. That's the chasing. Instead, we look for that unified reality where you are fulfilled already. And yes, you can experience pleasure as pleasure and enjoy it. And you don't have to chase. There's one experience, body, mind, spirit. Walk yourself back up, please. Come to sit on your butt. Good. Yeah, not on a blanket though, because you're going to do a little balancing. So leave the blankets to the side. So come into boat pose, Navasana, bringing the feet forward in front of you. Good. Holding behind the thighs. So before you come straight into it, feet on the floor, hold behind your thighs. Good. Give that little C curve of your back. So you draw your belly away from your thighs. Good. Almost like you're rounding backwards into making a C with your spine. Good. And then from that rounded place, start to lift up through the front of your pelvic bones, start to lift your collarbones up without pushing the ribs forward. And then pull those armpits back so you feel like you're hugging your shoulder blades, cupping around to the middle of your back. So there's this wrapping energy, this hugging energy, supporting energy. And then float the legs up off the floor, Navasana. Good. You can keep your hands at the backs of your thighs if you'd like. Good. Or you can stretch the arms up alongside your ears, whatever you'd like. Straightforward is good too. Good. Nice. Keep that energy of extending through your spine. So the back of the pelvis, don't let it roll under. Front of your low belly draws up. Zip up your lower abdominals into your middle ribs. Pull your low rib cage in and zip that up to your collarbones, your sternum. And from your sternum, lift that up straight through your throat. Nice. Beautiful. And then draw the knees in. Nice, Sarah. Nice, Kristen. Nice, everybody. Good boat pose, you guys. Drop your feet to the floor, please. Take your hands back behind you, fingers pointing towards your heels. Coming into reverse table. So again, before you come into it, bend your elbows, drop into that bent elbow position, and then start to rotate your chest up. So again, you're working the shoulder rotation and cup those shoulder blades around to the center of your back. So again, it's not just a squeezing straight in, it's a wrapping. Good. So when you find that wrapping, like the shoulder blades are actually lifting your chest for you, hug your upper arms, start to straighten the arms, press into your feet and lift your hips up. Good. Don't lose that wrapping of the shoulder blade so that as you push through your arms, it's actually an active opening of your armpits. Good. And then if you're clenching your butt here, notice, don't clench your butt. I see you. Engage each glute, right? Right butt cheek, left butt cheek can both activate, but don't squeeze in. Don't compress your tail. Good. And then release the hips down to the floor. I like this pose for preparation for bow, because this is the arm rotation that you need to be in to reach back for your ankles. So if you're like, oh, I can never reach back for my feet, do this pose a lot. All right. Roll yourself forward onto hands and knees, or come up onto your knees. I guess you don't need your hands really. Good. Yeah. You're coming up into camel, so you do need your hands a little bit, I guess. Sorry. So lift your butt up off of your heels, please. Toes can be tucked or untucked, your choice. If you'd like a block for between your thighs, this is a great exercise, is to place a block between the upper thighs so that you have something to activate, right, to keep you very steady in your legs as you back bend. Good. So the block between the upper thighs, hugging in, again, like you're rolling your inner thighs in towards the block. All right. So it's not just a straight squeeze, it's just rolling in. So the tops of your thigh creases should be soft. Good. And then arms are just going to hang alongside you. You can start at your low back if you want, but the arms are extension, the long part of your spine. So lift your collarbones here. So from the tops of your thighs, let's start there. Hugging the thighs or the block with the thighs, lift up through your hip points. Low belly draws in, get as tall as you can through the front of your body. Draw those low ribs and lift from your collarbones, from your sternum. That's where you're lifting up from. So keep that lifted. Start to rotate up into that back bend, straight up and down. You're not hinging back yet. Just lift up into the back bend. Pull the collarbones up, pull the sternum up, and feel already that rotation of cupping your shoulder blades in to lift your chest up. So try and feel that you're hugging the arms or the armpits back to lift your chest. And then once you've found that lift, start to lean back and let the arms hang. Good. And keep leaning back, but keep lifting your chest up and rotating those shoulder blades from the back. They push up. And then maybe your hands find your heels. Maybe your hands never find your heels and you don't even care because this feels good. Navel to spine, chest up, collarbones up, sternum up. Beautiful, Sarah. Nice, Kristen. Nice, Mark. And then navel to spine, press down into those shins, come all the way back up. Don't worry if you didn't reach your heels. Who cares? Drop your hips back to your heels. Forehead to the floor. Right? In both the physical sense and the spiritual sense, that feeling of fulfillment is we're drawn to this word ecstasy. Right? In the physical, we know that in the height of a very pleasurable experience, we call it ecstasy. In the spiritual terms, that when you have that burst of connection or that burst of fulfillment from really being in that unified moment where there's no separation and you're just really fulfilled with what you have right this minute, they call that ecstasy, exaltation, right? So that can you feel that when you open your chest, when you open your heart metaphorically? The exaltation is that you have the ability to open. Good. Bring yourself back up to hands and knees. Again, a little bit of cat-cow or hip circling, whatever feels good to you. And here we go. So you're going to come forward onto your belly. I'm going to give you the option, again, just like you had the block between the thighs in camel. It can be very interesting to do upward bow. And I want you to try it if you have a block and you've never done it, is to try bow pose. Sorry, not upward bow, but bow pose with a block between your thighs, not your shins, your thighs. Good. So sometimes it helps to put that block there while still on hands and knees and then lower down with the block already in place. Good. So you're on your belly, block between the upper thighs. Good. You got it. Try it with the legs straight first. So locust pose, squeezing the block, arms reach back behind you, fingers pointing down, palms facing down. Good. Keep your fingers on the floor. Again, front edge of the pelvic bones, right? Draw slightly forward, pull your ribs in. So it's almost like you're pulling the front of your body away from the floor and then hug that block, lift your legs. Yep. And then press into your fingertips, lift head, neck, and chest. Again, pulling your ribs in, lifting the hip points forward and up, extend through the spine. Good, and then float the arms up as well if you'd like. Back of your heart is what's rising the highest here. And then still hugging that block between the thighs, bend your knees, kick your heels in. And just like camel, keep pulling up through your sternum, keep pulling forward through your sternum, and let the arms just reach, and maybe they'll find your ankles and maybe they won't. But just let yourself be in that moment. Don't force it. Don't wiggle around until you find your feet. Don't force it. Just let yourself be in that moment of lift your chest, lift your thighs up, press those heels up. Exaltation. This is your spine. And then slowly release. Nice job. Yeah. Place the block to the side or keep it there. If you liked it, keep it there and you can use it again. As the block gets thrown away universally. I understand. So the trick, and you'll see this, right? That as soon as you try and go into the pose without the block, without something to squeeze into, is that your knees are going to have the tendency to splay wide, right? Which is going to potentially make it more stressful on your lower back to do this position, but easier on your shoulders, right? So just be aware how you're tricking yourself. That's always my rule. If you're going to trick yourself, know that you're doing it. So resting on the belly, forehead to the floor. This time, start with the knees bent, kick your heels in, and reach back, right hand for right ankle, left hand for left ankle. So find that. Good. And again, you're hugging in. So even if you don't have that block, you still have to energetically hug in with the knees so that you don't have that tendency for everything to splay wide. And then same work, push down through the tops of the knees first so you feel your butt pop up towards your heels. Draw your low rib cage in, and then start to, again, from your low belly, tilt those hip points forward and up. So that's what starts to angle towards the floor. Bend your elbows a little bit here. Good. Start to kick your feet into your hands. Lift your thighs up. This is the important part. If your thighs don't have the power here, doesn't matter what your back can do. Start to lift those thighs. Good. And then elbows still bent. Start to reach into those back muscles to lift head, neck, and chest. Collarbones forward and up. Sternum forward and up. Just like camel pose. Keep your elbows slightly bent. Kick your feet into your hands. Good. Squeeze those arm bones up into the shoulder socket and lift those thighs. Push through your heels. Hug your knees. Beautiful. Deep breath in, full spine extending. Tail to sternum. And then slowly release. Good. Pillow with your hands. Take a breath. 2 breaths, 3 breaths, a million breaths. Notice if in the height of that back bend, you stopped breathing because you were putting so much effort in that you forgot to actually feel. It's an intense pose, right? The concept of ecstasy is intense. So it's funny that as spiritual seekers, we say that it's what we're looking for, but then we get close to it and we often run the other direction. Say, no, thank you. I'll stay with my regular life. We separate. So it's a practice to rely on that sense of the inner strength to carry you over that threshold. The desire gets us there, and desire can be what brings us to that state of ecstasy. But if we think that it's too much or we're not enough, we separate. Try one more, whatever variation you'd like. Bend your knees. So you can reach for the ankles here, start with holding the feet, or you can just bend the knees, reach the arms back, and know that you're not going to reach for your feet. Try it that way. But make your choice, block between the thighs or not. Good. Work through your pelvis first. So pressing down into the knees, you feel that lift of your butt. Good. You pull your low rib cage in and away from the floor. You tilt those pelvic bones forward, lengthen your tail, and then lift through your thighs. Push those heels up towards the ceiling. Good. And then a little bend to the elbows if you're holding your feet so that you really work from your chest to open. You draw those shoulder blades together. Good. And lift the collarbones, lift your sternum. Really focus on how long can you get here. So almost that holding the feet is not holding you stuck, but it's just reference, right? This is your completeness. Here's your reference. And then slowly release. I was going to get silly with you and have you roll sideways and come into bridge pose and come back, but save that for another day when you're feeling silly. Breathe deep into the back of your chest, into your lower spine. Effort only gets you so far. If you forget to actually feel, then we remain unfulfilled by the effort. So whatever you are chasing, physically, spiritually, both, if you forget to let yourself feel, you'll keep running. When we keep running and we don't let ourselves ever arrive, that is the definition of the separation. I'm stuck in my physical, my mental, my emotional, reaching for something else. It's all one experience. So we practice just being unified. Body, mind, spirit, all looking in the same direction at the same time. Call that meditation. So bow pose is effort. But it's also the opportunity to feel unified in that effort, to feel fulfilled, ecstatic. Slowly flip yourself over onto your backs. Taking your right ankle over your left thigh. Lift your left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold your left thigh. Just breathe into your lower back. So the story, of course, if you haven't heard it before, of how Kama loses his physical form is that he's part of this plot to get Shiva, who is the perfect meditator, right? The one who is the perfect yogi, who's able to maintain that state of equanimity regardless of what happens, and actually struggles to find purpose and reason to keep dealing with the world. That's his struggle. Kama is part of a plot to get Shiva to fall in love with or to desire Parvati, who does become his wife, second wife. And so he shoots Shiva with his arrow of desire, but of course, Shiva being Shiva sees it happen and is unaffected by it, or is largely unaffected by it. But he's so annoyed at being disrupted from his meditation that he turns his third eye onto Kama, and the third eye only sees the truth. So the third eye burns away Kama's physical form. He's left only as a spirit. Switch your legs, please. Take the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Reach through to hold that right leg. Breathe into your lower back. So just the ankle over the thigh mark. So move your left knee a little wider. There you go. So of course, in this story, they say Kama is actually destroyed. The desire is destroyed, right? Because Shiva sees the truth and he knows that there's nothing to chase, right? There's no basis to that desire. He has everything that he needs. But of course, the other gods are like, you can't do this. The world needs desire. We need to have this. It's part of the experience of being embodied. And if there's no desire, then nothing will procreate, nothing will grow. There'll be no joy. There'll be no excitement. No one will do anything. The world will die. We need to have that. And so Shiva, of course, restores Kama to that spiritual form, but he does not have a physical body anymore. So we use that as a metaphor to say this is how we spiritualize our desires. We see them for what they are. The way we separate ourselves from that unified experience of just love. And when we know it, then those desires don't hold so much power over us anymore. We can still enjoy them, but we don't feel driven by them. We can still want, but we don't feel less than if it doesn't happen the way we want. Good. Unwind your legs, squeeze your knees in towards your chest. Let those knees go wide to happy baby. Reach for your ankles or your feet. So you have the pelvis that needs to be open in bow pose, which is the energetic place of pleasure, the physical form, as well as desire in all forms, creativity. And the shoulders, the chest, the heart center that needs to be open, which is the place where we understand love on an emotional level as well as a spiritual one. And where there is that connection of how your soul is living this embodied life, that's the heart chakra. So the two of them have to be united in order for bow pose to feel easeful and to be that state of ecstasy where it's not just work. Good. Bring the knees back together, please. Take your right thigh on top of your left. Stacking the knees, separate your feet, reach for your ankles or your shins. So something to contemplate for Valentine's Day, right? What is it you desire, and is it true what you're asking for? Is it really what you want? Or is it a way that you separate yourself from feeling fulfilled with who and what you are? But don't ruin it for yourself. Still have a good day. Start wondering things like this and you depress yourself. Don't do that. Good. If you'd like, keep that right thigh on top of the left. Just release the feet. Scoot your hips over to the right. Drop your knees to the left so you're coming into a spinal twist with the legs wrapped. If that does not feel comfortable on the legs, unwind the wrap and just stack the right knee on top of the left. If you have the power to separate yourself, you have the power to unify yourself. That's the practice of yoga, is finding the inner strength necessary to bridge those boundaries that we've placed between body, mind, and spirit. Come back to center, please. Bring the left thigh on top of the right. Separate the feet, reach for your ankles or your shins. So the Gomukhasana first, knees in towards your chest. Again, all of this, you do a lot of back bending, is internal rotation is always going to release the lower back. So it's a nice counterbalance to doing a lot of back bending. Although in theory, if you were really engaging your legs and your abdominals, is that your back should not feel too bad at this point. See how it feels tomorrow. Might be a little achy if you worked it hard. What does the word ecstasy mean to you? And are you willing to embody something that big, right? Ecstasy that sweeps you away. Absorbs you so much that you forget that there is anything that you ever wanted. Go ahead and keep that left thigh stacked on the right if you'd like. Scoot your hips over to the left, drop your knees to the right. Again, if twisting with the legs wrapped does not feel comfortable, unwind the legs and just stack the left knee on top of the right. Good. Just let your knees fall all the way to the floor, Lorraine. There you go. Yep. It's okay if the shoulder comes up, but let the knees fall. A little drawing in of your low belly here. So again, you're supporting the width of your lower back. And then come back to center, please. Good. Place your feet down to the floor. Arms alongside you. One bridge pose, either elbows bent or arms straight. Press down into your feet. Drag back on your heels. Breathe your hips up to the sky. Breathe your ribs up to the sky. No big pushing here. This is long bridge. Drag back on the heels, butt move towards your toes. Sternum lifts. Neck is long. Breathe through your belly. And then slowly release, one vertebra at a time. And then slowly extend the legs out in front of you, paying attention to how you place them. Arms come alongside you, palms facing up, paying attention to how you place them. Eyes closed. Shavasana. Body, mind, and spirit all looking in the same direction at the same time. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Letting the body begin to stretch and move, whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest. Roll to your right side. And take a moment there before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together at the heart center, palm to palm. Or even better, bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your low belly, abdomen. Just for a moment, breathe into both of those points. So there's the physical self that requires desire and pleasure and fulfillment in a very physical way. There's the energy of the heart that knows that for that pleasure, for that love, that feeling of love to be real, is it has to have a spiritual dimension. It can't just be something that the body is chasing. So you have the capacity to remember this, to bring unity, no longer separate your physical self from your spiritual self. They're one and the same. Divine spark lives at the heart, informs the pelvis. Desire informs the heart. This is what we need. The heart says, here's how you get it. So we practice the bow pose, right, as a form of that absorption, meditation. But absorbed into what? Into this feeling of fulfillment, ecstasy, where all desire disappears because everything's already been given. You already have it. So run to your ecstasy, the inner ecstasy, run to it. It requires a little bit of effort, a little bit of bravery, a little bit of strength. That's the ultimate freedom. Close the sound of Om with the hands here, or bring the hands to your heart. Deep breath in. Bringing the hands together and sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. Happy Chinese New Year tomorrow, Year of the Ox. Happy Valentine's Day this weekend if I don't see you before then. Got to unmute to let me know how that went. And we've only got a minute, so I got to get off for Eileen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
How do your backs feel?
Yes.
Fine.
Good? Fine?
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you guys. All right. I'm getting out of here.